Hi everybody, I'm Jack. This is Raw Tropical Living. Thanks for joining me today. Nice Saturday here in Costa Rica, and I'm just going to have one of my little weekend videos. As you know, I can get rambling on these weekend videos, so you might want to take your shoes off and set a spell in case I get a little long-winded here. We just never know. Anyhow, I do videos every day. I do, little videos kind of off food like this on the weekends, but mostly it's about raw veganism, plant-based, health in general. So hope you'll hit that subscribe button and come back and watch more. And when you hit that subscribe button, click on the little bell and check send notifications so you'll stay subscribed to the channel. Today it's going to be another one where I'm kind of like taking lessons from the meditation cushion and kind of sharing and applying them in real life, because as I'm talking about my meditation practice more and more these days and just little anecdotes related to it, to me that's what yoga meditation has always been about. It's not just about something that you go and do for this set period of day or however your practice might unfold, but ideally you want to try to take those lessons and take the things that you're learning on the yoga mat or on the meditation cushion and figure out how to apply those to everyday life. And the series, like I'm doing some meditations now that just almost every day I'm kind of exploring, and it's been a really good thing. And it's also I've just really felt the desire to share some of these thoughts as how they just relate to everything. I mean, life is life is life is life. A lot of lessons in life, or little thought patterns in life, or little ways of looking at things are not necessarily limited to food or philosophy or religion or business or success or whatever. There's some core thoughts out there and ways of thinking, lessons that can translate into a lot of different areas in life. So today we're going to talk about perception and impermanence. Not necessarily even connected. I don't have like a unifying message to bring perception and impermanence. I just had both of those on my mind. As far as perception goes, is just to bring forth the simple thought of, and we've all heard this before, is like most of life is about our perception. It's not actually, I think there's a famous meme or a famous quote from somebody that is like something like life is 10% what happens and 90% how we perceive it. And that is so true in many things in life. And we can so much control our demeanor, our mood, our emotions, a lot of times just by the way our perception naturally is, and on focusing on changing our perception and trying to perceive things, differently than we would. A lot of times it's just simple. I don't like to use all the flowery language. Sometimes it's just like looking for that silver lining, looking for a positive spin on things, when you're perceiving things. I mean, obviously there's some things that are more cut and dry than others, in life, that it's like, boom, somebody gets run over by a car out there. Now, later on, as we wax philosophical, we can find some lessons in that, but in that moment, that's bad. There's no really way to perceive that too much more unless you get on a really deeper level. But most things in life, even if they are whatever, they're negative, they're unpleasant, they make us feel uncomfortable. With a lot of things in life, we can really do a lot just by changing our perception or how the ways that we look at them. I know I do that all the time. In my past life, I was like, it's amazing, as you get older. I'm older than a lot of y'all out there that are watching. You start getting these little lessons later in life, and you get a little bit annoyed that it didn't come to you, earlier. So you had more time to use it. But as I'm getting older, and especially since I cleaned up, got sober, got all the garbage out of my body that I was taking in, and my mind was able to think, I've just changed my perception on so many things, and it's made my life just like so nice. It's like I remember in the past, and I've talked with my friend that's here this week. We've just been like, I don't talk very much, so I've probably just been a motor mouth, and I tell her, different ways that I acted in the past as opposed to how I act now. And sometimes in the past, anything that would happen, like I was talking about, like having difficulties in the airport when you're flying and whatever. And used to in the past, if I had any difficulty, I would immediately just get all stressed and see it as a negative, and everything's going to be terrible, and I'm not going to make the next plane, or this is going to happen, or there's going to be negative consequences from this. And most of the time, even if we're in a bad situation or in a negative place, even our perception makes it that much more negative. In other words, like maybe something is really only like this and we blow it up in our head like this. So, over the last 5 years or so, I've noticed how my perception has changed, and with my perception has changed, my action has changed, how I treat people, how I relate with other people has changed, and I've just seen like a remarkable difference in my life. There's always two ways of looking at things. There's the way, if you have something that's an obstacle, a negative, whatever, and you can look at it and say, damn, you can look at it like, well, I can't do this now, I can't do that, this is going to stop this from happening, this is going to stop that from happening, or you focus on all the negative consequences because this thing didn't happen. Instead of, like exploring the other side. Well, okay, this didn't happen, but maybe this result comes out of it, or something positive, even more positive than what you were hoping for, comes out of it. So anyhow, pretty much enough on perception. Perception is just like, to just sum that up, like we can control our spin on so many things. We can control our, I don't know, not our psyche, but our emotional balance, how we feel. So much more by how we take things in and how we look at things than we normally do. Now, impermanence, this is something I was doing a meditation on a couple of days ago, and impermanence was really, I'm kind of just totally just spinning on the impermanence thing, not sure exactly what I'm going to say. I've got some notes, but this will just come out as it comes out. Impermanence is just like when you start coming to the realization, and when you come accepting the fact, and you're more aware that everything in life is impermanence. There's tons of meditations out there on impermanence and death. We're all going to die. A lot of people, it's not the most pleasant subject, but that's just a reality. We're all going to die. Now, I'm not talking about impermanence like I'm just throwing that out there. I'm not talking about it necessarily from a death aspect. I'm talking about it in a bigger sense, like everything is impermanent. Everything is impermanent. Good little anecdote that was told in one of the guided meditations I did back last week was, student comes to his meditation teacher and tells his meditation teacher, oh, I meditated this morning and it was a very good session. I had a very good meditation. He said, that'll change. A couple of days later, the student comes back to the teacher and says, oh, wow, teacher, I just couldn't concentrate. I had a very bad meditation session today, blah, blah, blah. And he said, that will change. And it basically means everything, there's impermanence in everything. Nothing stays the same. She was kind of focusing in us on the voice of this guided meditation that I was doing, was kind of focusing on like how that can kind of free us, how that can give us a little bit more peace by knowing even like emotions that we have. No matter what, you feel bad right now, it's not going to last. It's all impermanent. So when you kind of come to understand and grasp this concept of impermanence, it keeps you from being so attached to things. Non-attachment. Now, let me look at my notes just for 1 second. Focusing on impermanence helps by cutting attachment to people, places, and things. Now, what I wanted to go in there and qualify there, though, because I think I've talked about attachment before, and people that don't really get it from the concept you're coming from. We're all attached to something. I'm not saying not to have attached, like, you're connected to your wife, you're connected to your children, you're connected to your family, but I'm talking about a clinging type attachment. And when we keep this mindfulness of impermanence in our head, it keeps us from getting caught up in this attachment and clinging to things, it's clinging to these things is futile anyhow, because it's always changing. And when we can understand the impermanence of life, of everything we do in it, then it's almost like then we can learn to go with the flow, because when we don't accept impermanence, we're always fighting. We're always fighting for things that are, that are not to our liking. Emotions, we hold on to those emotions, that attachment to emotions. How many times has somebody made you mad and all afternoon you've stewed about it? You've thought about writing an email, you've thought about making a comment on social media, but you just, you keep on and just letting that go. And everything in life is going to be impermanent. And when we can understand impermanence, then we can begin to live life to the fullest. You know, when we think about impermanence, that everything is changing all the time, that death, you know, that death is a reality in the future. We make the most out of every day. We make the most out of every moment. But the clinging, attachment, clinging. That I don't know. I don't feel like I'm verbalizing this message as well as I could. I just felt kind of a. That just gave me a peace the other day when I did that meditation that was more focused on impermanence. Not that I hold on to things, but it just really kind of resonated for me, and it gave me this kind of peace. And actually, that's where this title came from. You know, right after or within like an hour of getting up from my meditation cushion, because that's how I live my life. I guess that's why this one kind of, the two P's, this is why, or no, it's not the two P's, it's the perception and impermanence, kind of spoke to me, because these are little things that I've focused on a lot over recent years. Like I say, you know, there was more for me than just coming to a food lifestyle. I had issues to deal with in my life. I had the issues to go back over and ask myself, why did I live like this through my life? Why did these certain things happen? You know, what led to these things? What led to behavior of mine that I'm not happy with now looking back on? But wouldn't say not happy, because it made me who I am. It's just part of what was, part of the past, nothing I can do about. But that's pretty, listen, I try to these days, and I'm not some little positive thinker Pollyanna that's just always trying to chant some affirmation or go positive, positive, positive. I really like to go a little deeper than that. I like to go beneath the surface and do something that like really means something to me and is long lasting in my process. And perception is something that goes back for a few years now, about something that I've been changing. I was locked up, I think I've told this story, I haven't told it in a while, locked up in immigration in Panama. Coming up on 4 years ago now. Now, my friend that was down here, first person that I've actually, not because I was hiding it or just because I pulled it out, she was interested in reading my notes, and she read everything that I wrote while I was locked up for that 3.5 weeks. And I told her that, and I've just said, that's where a lot of things started. I was already on my food path for about a year, but that's where things started. That's where I really got this whole perception thing. Like when people were asking me when I was locked up in there, like how I was calm and how I was happy and how I was smiling, how I was meditating, doing what I was doing, I was like, I don't have a choice. I don't have a choice. Or I do have a choice. I do have a choice, but I don't have a choice, not within my mind. I can see this thing two ways. I could have freaked out. I could have been going, oh my God, I'm locked up. What am I going to do? Blah, blah, blah. I hate this. I hate that. Pissing and moaning all the time, which is probably what would have happened if that little experience had happened 2 or 3 years earlier. But instead, I was like, I had to accept. My perception was, make the best of this I can. You have to accept the situation you're in right now. You're locked up. You've lost your freedom. You can't do, all you can do is make the best of what you have in front of you. And that's when I had 3.5 weeks to water fast, meditate, write, pray, do whatever you can imagine. And a lot of this thing about perception sunk in during that time. So, you know, always listen, there's a lot of things out there that are really bad that happen to people. There's a lot of situations out there that are really stressful that are going to throw you. But anytime you have a negative you're dealing with or some frustration, look at it, evaluate it without judgment, and see if maybe you can look at it from a different angle, or see if you can perceive it differently, and therefore give yourself a little bit more peace and not be attached to it. It's all about that attachment, folks. Anyhow, I hope I didn't ramble too much for you today. And if you like this one, please give me a thumbs up. And I hope you're having a beautiful weekend. I'm looking forward to a little bit more fruit this afternoon, and then a nice quiet Sunday tomorrow. Love you guys. Peace.